Welcome to the Systems Thinker Show. This is Season 6, Episode 45. And first off, a huge thank you to our listeners tuning in from 34 countries around the world. It's absolutely amazing. Now, we've got this big goal to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. And here's a crazy stat. Less than 44% of you who listen are actually subscribed. So if you could do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe or follow button right now, it would mean the world. It really helps us with the streaming algorithm so we can keep bringing you these best-in-class business cultural insights. Today, we're diving deep into how understanding the 48 laws of power is absolutely key to leveling up your team's performance. We're going to break down Law 37, creating compelling spectacles, and really look at how it can be a powerful tool for positive cultural change. This quote from Robert Greene really just nails the whole idea. He understood something fundamental about us. At our core, we are visual, emotional beings. You know, in a business setting, you can send out a memo about company values, and it'll probably be forgotten by lunch. But a powerful, shared experience? That sticks. Spectacle isn't just fluffy entertainment. It's a serious tool for building memories and driving motivation. All right, here's our game plan for today. First, we'll nail down what spectacle actually means in this context. Then we're going to look at a real-world company that used this law to totally transform its culture. After that, we'll see if this is a bigger trend, and then we'll put Greene's dramatic ideas head-to-head with some classic management theories before pulling it all together into a strategy you can actually use. Okay, so what are we really talking about when we say spectacle? Let's get a really clear definition of Law 37 and figure out how this idea, which comes from a book about power, can be flipped to build a positive, high-energy culture in a modern company. So here's the most important part. This is not just about putting on a show or empty theatrics. It's a strategic tool. It's about using focused, symbolic drama to make a message land with serious impact. It's about making those invisible things, like company values, totally visible and unforgettable. Theory is one thing, right? But let's see how this actually plays out in the trenches. We're going to dig into a case study about a company called Novapharm Biotechnologies. They use this exact law to turn their kind of quiet, uninspired culture into a real source of pride and, more importantly, high performance. So here's the situation at Novapharm. They were good, but let's be honest, they were boring. They had fantastic products, their operations were disciplined, but nobody was excited about it. Not their employees, not their customers. The new CEO saw this lack of energy as a huge business risk and decided to tackle it head-on with some very deliberate, very dramatic moments. So what was their first move? They completely ditched the standard snooze fest town hall meeting. Instead, they created this immersive experience to roll out their 5-year strategy. I'm talking dynamic visuals, putting a real spotlight on teams that had major breakthroughs. They built a true sense of a shared mission. And the effect on morale? It wasn't just a feeling. They could measure it. And the result? Get this, a 23% jump in employee pride. And that was measured in just the first 3 months. Now think about that. That wasn't from a new bonus plan or some big process change. It came from a single, brilliantly executed event. That is the power of making people feel like they are part of something big and exciting. And they didn't just stop with their own people. No, they took that exact same principle and applied it to their client relationships. So instead of dragging partners through another boring slide deck, they started hosting these live innovation showcases. They made their science tangible, exciting, unforgettable. And the business impact was just as dramatic, a 17% increase in contract conversions. So why did that happen? Because spectacle builds confidence. It takes a partnership from just a theoretical idea on a slide to a real, tangible demonstration of what you can do. Data alone just can't compete with that. Now, this next part is so important because it shows this wasn't just about one big party. The real genius here was the consistency. They started weaving what they called mini spectacles into the daily work, things like symbolic awards or little team rituals for hitting a target. These small, repeated dramatic moments reinforced the new culture every single day, and that led to a huge improvement in a critical HR metric. An 18% decrease in employee turnover. In a super competitive field like biotech, that number is massive. It represents millions of dollars saved in recruitment and training. People weren't just prouder to work at Novapharm. They were actively choosing to stay and build their careers there. Novapharm is a killer story, but is it just an outlier, a one-off? Well, let's zoom out and look at the data. It turns out this principle is being used with huge success across all kinds of industries. Take manufacturing, for instance. I mean, what is a visual KPI board if not a little daily spectacle? It makes performance visible, dramatic. And as the data shows, teams that use these visual boards have engagement levels around 22%, compared to just 5% for those who don't. That is a gigantic difference, all driven by making the numbers part of a daily story. And hey, it even works in government. Just think about NASA. Their rocket launches are the ultimate compelling spectacle, right? And it pays off. Research has shown that agencies that stage these kinds of big public events can generate 30% more public trust than the ones just relying on standard press releases. Okay, this all sounds pretty great, but it brings up a really important question. How does this dramatic, almost theatrical approach from Robert Greene stack up against the more established, process-heavy theories from the big change management gurus? Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. The contrast in philosophy is huge. You can see here Greene uses spectacle for pure drama and influence, but then you look at the others. Someone like petersenge would frame a big event as a chance for the team to learn together. John Cotter would use it to create a powerful sense of urgency for change. So they're all using a form of spectacle, but for very different strategic reasons. This table really just boils it all down. On one hand, you have Greene, who's focused on short-term power and influence, but he runs the risk of it all becoming empty theatrics. On the other hand, you have the gurus, focusing on building these long-term inclusive systems, but they risk creating slow, bureaucratic processes that totally lack energy. So this brings us to the most important point of all. It is not about choosing Greene or the gurus. The best leaders, the most effective ones, they integrate these ideas. The real question is, how do you combine the motivating drama of a spectacle with the sustainable discipline of a great system? This chart shows it perfectly. They're often aiming for the exact same goals, just using different vehicles to get there. Whether it's Greene's drama, Cotter's urgency, or Johnson's KPI rituals, the goal is to capture attention. Whether it's through captivation or through disciplined steps, the goal is to build culture. The methods are different, but the destination is the same. At the end of the day, the real magic happens when you combine them. You use Greene's flair for the dramatic to breathe life into the guru's rock-solid systems. Spectacle becomes the engine that drives engagement with the very processes that guarantee success in the long run. It really does turn the boring into the brilliant. So we'll end with this thought. Spectacle isn't about being fake. It's about making the important things unforgettable. So take a hard look at your own team, your own organization. What story does your daily work actually tell? And could that story use just a little more drama? For any additional information, please feel free to reach out through our website at www.karasinnovations.com. And while you're at it, check out our other podcast, The Continuous Improvement Lab. And finally, a huge thank you to our executive producer and founder, Lanier Johnson.